daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the GSPN Daily Manchester United podcast. You're joined with me today as your host, Sam Brady, and I'm joined, as always, Kieran. Kieran, how are we, mate? Good? All good?
Yeah, all good. All good. Hoping for a better game upcoming. But yeah, we'll get more into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Of course, we are recording this the day before the round 2 Carabao Cup game against Grimsby Town. I mean, I haven't been on the podcast since the game on the weekend, and I know against Fulham, obviously a draw away at Craven Cottage. Kieran, I know you've given your sort of initial thoughts on the podcast the day before this one. Anything really changed in your mind? And obviously, I haven't spoke to you since either. So, what were your sort of thoughts on the game and how we approach tomorrow? Really?
Yeah, it just seemed like a step back. You know, we were praising the team for how, you know, that attacking bit of play was really good against Arsenal and, you know, working towards that. But it just felt a bit flat against Fulham. It was kind of end to end, which is not what we wanted. Considering we beat Fulham at our worst last season, it just felt like it was a step back. But like I said to Niall on yesterday's episode, you know, not to underestimate Grimsby because that's the worst thing you can do, but League Two side, who are currently 4th in the league, undefeated so far, have scored at least a goal in every single league game they've been in this season. There's a lot better than can be said about Manchester United. We haven't even scored one of our own goals yet because the goal we did score was an own goal in the end. So, yeah, Grimsby know how to score and Manchester United currently don't. It's a bit of a concern.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's sort of how I saw the game on Sunday. A bit of a step back, a pretty flat performance, and in the end, a draw was probably a fair result. I know in the first half we were decent. We were decent for about 25 minutes, half an hour spell there. We looked good going forward again, but then the second half just fell flat really, and it's just. And I think Gary Neville summed it up perfectly, where similar scars sort of appeared and similar trends and patterns that we saw last season really, and it's not what we wanted to see after the Arsenal performance, but a draw against Fulham away, unfortunately that might just be where we're at the minute, and I still feel like it is going to take a bit of time to, you know, for the team to start gelling. But what I will say is Almorin needs to pick up wins quick. And if he doesn't pick up wins quick, he's going to be in a serious bit of bother. And I expect one of those wins will come potentially tomorrow against Grimsby. In terms of Grimsby, I think we should, obviously it's a United podcast, but I think we should mention a little bit about Grimsby, because what a night this will be for Grimsby. We haven't visited Grimsby since 1948. Would you believe it, Kieran? And yeah, what a day, what a night for Grimsby it will be hosting us, Kieran?
Yeah, trip to Blundell Park,
Yeah.
and yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. I mean, I really hope, I hope that we can put so many past Grimsby, but it's not always that easy. It's never that easy, it seems, especially for Manchester United. When to heart your days of being knocked out by MK Dons, you know, we put out a heavily rotated side and we lost 4-0. That cannot happen again. And obviously, later in the episode, we'll come on to our predicted 11 and who we think is going to be starting where. But I think Amirim is going to err on the side of caution because, as you said, he can't afford to lose. It has to be a win in the game. So there's going to be a little rotation, but he cannot afford to lose this game whatsoever.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're not usually in sort of this round of the competition, so we're not sort of usually playing these sort of teams from the lower leagues like the Grimsby, as you said in League Two, and as you said later on in the episode, we'll get on to sort of our predictions and our predicted 11 in part two. But on the Carabao Cup, how important not only the Carabao Cup, but also the FA Cup, the cup competitions in general, how important will they be for our season? Because obviously, no European football, we won't win anything in the Premier League, so it is down to these cup competitions, right?
It is, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when he was United manager, he was saying about how cup competitions are that blanket, that disguise blanket that lets you know that things might be going okay, but it's the league that matters. But any silverware for United is a good thing. We won the League Cup, I think 22-23, I want to say. So it's not that long ago since we won it last, and we've won it 6 times in total. 4 runners-up appearances as well. So, 22-23 was the last time we won it, which ended about a 6-year League Cup drought. So, I think all in all, it's no bad thing. I mean, Ferguson only won it 4 times. Only won the League Cup 4 times in 23 odd years.
Yeah.
So it just shows you. I wonder how seriously the Premier League teams will take it, and I wonder how seriously Amirim will take it. I think he has to take it so seriously to be able to get a trophy, because there is European competition on the line in the EFL Cup. I'm pretty sure there is. I know there is. It's Conference League, isn't it, on the line?
Potentially, I'm not. I know the FA Cup's definitely Europa League. I don't know about the League Cup. I think it sort of depends, maybe how many teams are already in European football, maybe. But I definitely agree with you. Where, I mean, okay, tomorrow I think there'll be a lot of rotation. Of course, it's against Grimsby. I feel like even our sort of B, C team should be winning this game. But I think later on, the later stages of the competition, even the next round of the competition, I fully expect Almorin to take it seriously, because, as we've said, it's the only cup competitions that we're in that we could potentially win. And I think, as you said, no matter how bad the league goes, if you get a sort of cup, then maybe it sort of disguises any scars. That sort of papers over some of the cracks. So I fully expect him to take it as serious, especially because we aren't playing in Europe as well. So I feel like sort of we don't need to sort of save a lot of our players for those European long away trips and things like this. I feel like, of course he's going to rotate, but I don't think he should rotate as much as some other of the Premier League teams. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think tomorrow, we're heavily going to rotate. But as you quite rightly said, look, Grimsby are going to be up for it. Manchester United, every time Manchester United are in town, the teams are up for it. And I just think we obviously need to be cautious, but I fully expect that we sort of get the job done. And I think sort of, you've got Grimsby tomorrow, and then you've got Burnley on the weekend. I think they're 2 obviously very winnable games to sort of maybe it can give us that momentum sort of to finally pick up a few wins. And do you think what's been lacking, you think, Kieran? Before we go on to our prediction into the Grimsby game, we came out positive against Arsenal, and yet we lost. Not so positively against Fulham, and we got a draw. So when do you think what sort of needs to happen for us to sort of turn that around? And do you think it's only a matter of time before, once we do turn it around, maybe against Grimsby tomorrow, you would think, then maybe we can sort of kick on and pick up some momentum?
I'm very hesitant to say, oh yeah, a win in the cup and we'll be on a winning run, because last season we didn't win a game consecutive games all season.
Yeah.
So to not call upon any false dawns, I think a win in the league is what will matter. A win against Grimsby won't, be a drop in the ocean. It's a game United are expected to win. It's up against the Premier League competition. That is when United will be judged the most. But at the same time, it is a game we're expected to win. So if we don't win it, we are going to be absolutely lambasted, and rightfully so. This is a game that we cannot afford to lose, and Amirim is fully aware of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think that bloke who won't cut his hair until we win 5 games in a row will definitely be looking at these next 2 games, and I'm sure he's got his fingers crossed as well. But we'll see we'll see at the end of the season whether he's still got that Barnet. But more on the predictions and the potential rotated team that we might see in the next part of this episode. But first, just a quick break from our sponsors.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionic, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionic provide 100% tailor-made supplements, designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionic. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome back to part 2 of the daily Manchester United podcast. We are, of course, previewing the game, the Carabao Cup Round 2 game against Grimsby Town tomorrow night. I'm joined, of course, with Kieran. Now, in the first part of the episode, we talked about how important the cup competitions are for the squad as a whole, and for a club to potentially get Almorin's first hands on silverware. Kieran, we expect there's going to be rotation, but how important is it for those players who are sort of on the fringe to maybe get their opportunity to sort of show Almorin, you know what, you should also give me a chance in the league as well?
Yeah, I think there's one big name we've been missing all season so far, and that's Kobi Meynou. And we haven't seen him as part of the squad. We haven't seen him as a huge part of this squad. So this would be, if he's given the chance, his chance to absolutely grab it with both hands and make us realise that he is a choice in that centre of the midfield. You've also got Diego Leon as well, new signing from the Paraguayan club. He's one that has to be on the fringes, obviously, maybe even starting this game to prove to Amirim that he can do it and cut his teeth into competition. But I don't know how much rotation there will be. It'll be interesting to see how Amirim approaches this, because we're desperate for a win, and it's a case of, I feel like a broken record, but it's imperative. We cannot lose this next game against Grimsby. We can't. If that does happen, everything might start to fall apart already 3 games into the season. I mean, I was just having a look. Jay's Cabia, the Grimsby Town player who signed for them this season after helping Truro City win, I think it was the National South League. So he's transferred. He's already picked up 3 goals in League 2 in 5 games. So he is in red-hot form. Yeah. So, the stage is set for Jay's Cabia to walk onto that pitch in Grimsby and absolutely steal the show. And he will if we're nowhere near prepared.
Yeah, and there's 2 players that I sort of want to touch on that I expect to see a little bit of tomorrow. The first player you touched on there, Kobi Meynou. Now, if he doesn't get minutes tomorrow, then I am really sort of worried about his future at United. And I want to talk to you about it and get your thoughts on the situation. And in the past couple of days and since the game, there has sort of been talk about Kobi's sort of future for United and where he fits in Almorin's system. Because look, against Fulham, I believe instead of bringing on Kobi or Agate, I believe Agate did come on, but eventually Agate came on, but uh, originally Mount was dropped into that centre mid position next to Bruno, and it was a very sorry indictment on Almorin's thoughts on Kobi or Agate, although as I said Agate did come on. So I mean, what are your thoughts on the Kobi situation at the minute? I mean, surely it'd be an absolute travesty if we ended up letting him go.
Yes, I think so. I think what we've got to remember is we can't fall into the same trap as previous players where they have a great debut season and then it just doesn't click after that. Now, Kobi's still young, very young. He's still got his whole football career ahead of him. And wherever that may be, I know he's going to be a great player. But Amirim is not starting him, and that's a concern, considering the fact that he was, on those fringes when Amirim came in. He was making those appearances as well, and now those opportunities are drying up. If he starts in the EFL Cup, then there's maybe a chance. But you do wonder if he will start him. Is that just a case of putting him in the shop window? Or will it actually be a case of giving him a chance to get back into the first team? Where he would play in that system, obviously we've got Cunha, we've got Mbermo, we've got Mount, who Amirim's a huge fan of, a massive fan of. And, that sort of faith in him is clear to see because he's doing quite well at the start of this season. I think he's been a great player so far this season. If he keeps his fitness up, that'll be great. But yeah, where do you play Kobi? Do you play him deeper in the midfield? Well, actually, Bruno Fernandes has dropped back into that position now. But do you play him alongside Fernandes? Well, actually, do you consider him a destroyer type player? Do you consider him as someone who can put in a challenge and then facilitate the play? Or do you put that down to a Casemiro or an Agate? Do you play him further up, but you've also got Mbermo and Cunha who are now going to occupy those attacking midfield players or attacking midfield spots, but also you've got Mason Mount in and around there. So it does come down to, if he does start, where will he start? What will his role be? And if he doesn't start, then that might be all the message we need about his future at the club.
Yeah, see, it's a difficult one, I think, because I get both sides of it in terms of, I get Almorin's thinking in terms of a tactical point of view where I don't really see where Meynou fits into the system, because I think obviously you have to play him in that central midfield spot, but I don't feel like you can play him next to Bruno Fernandes because you need that sort of number six, that defensive-minded player next to Bruno. Whereas then, okay, if you take Bruno out, you can't take Bruno out. He's our best player, so Bruno has to play. So then it's either Agate or Casemiro as that defensive-minded player. So I don't see where Meynou fits into it, unfortunately, and it's one of them where I feel like Meynou is going to have to accept, that's if he wants to accept, that he isn't going to be a starter now. I don't believe. I feel like Almorin is going to use him as a sort of squad player, a bench player, but it's whether Kobi wants to accept that. And to be honest, he's probably, if we're admitting it as well, he's probably too good to be on the bench. So, but he's not, he doesn't fit the system. And unfortunately, it might just be a case of a player not fitting into the system. But on the other hand, I don't feel like we can sell him. We cannot sell Kobi Meynou. He's probably, bar Rashford, he's probably our greatest academy player that's come through in recent years. And we cannot, by no no what's the word, sort of uh opportunity or anything can we sell him under no circumstances. I just feel like he's one of those players who represents everything about United. He loves the club, we love him, and yeah, he doesn't fit the system, but that doesn't mean to say he can't be a valuable asset to the squad and to the team. My only concern is Almorin is getting rid of players that he doesn't seem that he either fits the system or doesn't like their attitude. So clearly we're having a clear out of players. So in my mind, does Almorin go, you know what, I'm not going to use Kobi, he doesn't work in the system, let's get our value for him. But I also feel like Almorin knows the reaction he would get from the fans, and it would not be a good one. I feel like if worst comes to worst and Kobi, we announce or we make it clear that we are selling Kobi, the fans would quickly turn on Almorin, very quickly turn on the board in my opinion, because that's just one step too far in my opinion. You've got rid of the likes of Scott McTominay, you've got rid of players that fans already like. You've replaced them with players that aren't necessarily the good enough replacement, and now you're getting rid of more players. So look, as I said, I see both sides of it. He doesn't fit the system, but I feel like he can still be a valuable asset to the squad. But I also, if Kobi said, look, I'm not getting enough game time, I want to leave, then you could also see that point of view, because look, he's sat on the bench, it's 1-1 Fulham away, and he's not being brought on. And to be honest, I think it's disgusting how you're bringing on Agate when Kobi sat on the bench. Look, I know Agate gives you that more defensive-minded stability, but you're bringing on Agate, Dalot, Maguire, Heaven. If you've not got defensive stability there, then you've lost the plot, really. And that's another thing where, look, we didn't touch on it. My thoughts on the Fulham game in part one, I didn't mention it, but I think that's a massive problem we have as well. I think our squad depth between the starting 11 and the bench, I think the drop off is huge, and I think we saw that against Fulham, and the players Fulham brought on, like the likes of Smith Rowe and different players like that who really changed the game. Where we brought on 4 defensive minded players. And it's just that, to me, that's not good enough. And that also lies on Almorin's head, I feel as well. Where what message does that send out when you swap in 2 centre backs when it's 1-1 and you've got Kobi sat on the bench? To me, that doesn't make sense. Now Almorin, and that's where I think if Almorin doesn't start picking up wins, people will question these moments. They'll go, you could have changed the game here and here, and that's where we do, for all the positives we preach about Almorin and the cultural change that he is and the cultural attitude he is bringing to the club. I think we also need to question sometimes his tactical nous and his tactical decisions, and that brings me on to another player, Kieran, who, look, he's started slow, but do we fully expect Sesko to get a full 90 minutes tomorrow?
I think so. At least to start the game, maybe. He'll probably get 75 minutes. But I don't see why not. I think, Sesko up top, and will we see, is there a possibility for Xerxes to see what he can do in the side? Højlund has been in the news about leaving the club, either on loan or permanently. You've got Chido Obi as well on the bench. Or at least in the squad, I should say. We don't know if he's made the bench yet as the time this episode goes live. But yeah, it's, there are strikers there who you would think are quite hungry to prove a point. Sesko, I think, will probably start, but I might think it's probably Chido Obi on the bench. I would like it to be Chido Obi on the bench. I think Xerxes might make the bench as well. Højlund, I'm not so sure. But yeah, I just think Xerxes either up top, or what he was tried as last season as well, was dropping slightly deeper into that sort of attacking midfield role, which he can hold up the play. A slightly different approach as to what you're being offered with Mbeumo and Acuna, where they're quite direct at attacking. You've got Xerxes who can hold up the play. Now, whether how effective that's going to be is another question. But yeah, it's difficult to get into that sort of headspace of how it's all going to line up. Will Mbeumo and Cunha start? The truth is, I don't know. I would think potentially they probably will, but for nowhere near as long as Amirim will want them to. That all depends on who is rotating the side. Do we see Diego Leon? Do we see Aidan Heaven take a start? Maybe Tyler Fredrickson alongside as well. How much is Amirim going to rotate? That's up in the air for me, because this game is going to be a huge chance to grab the first win of the season, full stop.
Yeah. And your thoughts on Sesko so far?
I don't think we've seen enough of him. He hasn't started either game, so I would love to see him start and get a couple of goals in there. He looks imperious in the air, but we just need to see more of him to get himself settled in. I mean, we saw Gyökeres, who was nullified in the game against us, scored a brace in the next game. So he needs a goal. And we've said that for our strikers for a long time. But he needs a goal. Yeah. And, this would be no better place, you would think and hope, to try and do that.
See, I'm going to be a bit tougher than you on Sesko, to be honest, because look, I think we're all saying the same as you, where he needs more time and he needs time to settle in, which is true, which is very valid. But you've had 2 games, 2 half an hour spells in these 2 games now. You're a 70 million striker. We need to be seeing a bit more. We need let's just call it for what it is. We need to be seeing a bit more touches, a bit. And people might say, "Oh, you're being harsh," blah blah blah. But look, look, tomorrow, I hope he gets a start, and I think he will start. And look, if he starts the game tomorrow and he proves me wrong, then you can go, look, he started a game and he's played really well, maybe scored a goal, blah blah blah, which is fair enough. And as I'm saying, we can't judge him too quick yet because he hasn't started a game yet. But we need, in my opinion, I would have just liked to see a bit more, just creating a few more chances, touching the ball a few more times. Look, he was brought on against Fulham. Was it 1-1 at the time? Maybe 1-0. But you're being brought on to do a job, and at the minute he's not doing that job. But I said, we need to give him time.
The Arsenal game, though, which, the game had completely changed when he actually came onto the pitch. For goodness sake, we were putting Harry Maguire up as a target forward. That's not the system that we're playing. Yeah. Now, as you say, he's a 70 million striker, 65, 70 million striker. We should be starting to see some results right now. But yeah, it will take some time to adapt. Not every player is going to hit the ground running. Not every player is a 16-year-old Liverpudlian player.
But the thing is, grab 3 points. The thing is, Kieran, my whole issue with that argument is we said these excuses for Højlund, and we said these excuses for, and I've said it episode after episode after episode. Our problem in recent years is we've sold players and replaced them for players who are either under the level of the players we sold or on par, not good, not better. And don't get me wrong, Cunha is a great addition. He is better than what we had. And Mbeumo, in my opinion, is better than what we had going forward. But if we don't start to see something out of Sesko soon, and then we're starting to criticize Højlund for his bit part. So, we need to sort of see these results in my opinion. So, as you said, so what's the sort of starting 11 you're sort of looking for then?
Right. I'm going to take a leaf out of Tom Cairns, our Tom's book, and put Tom Heaton in goal.
Really?
Yes, really. Because if Onana's not fit, I mean, I'm just looking through what Amirim was saying about Onana. He's returned to the squad. Obviously, he was there or thereabouts, but not risked against Fulham. We could see him come back, but again, that's 50-50, really. It's more about there's definitely no Mazraoui and still definitely no Martinez. So, Onana's not really been mentioned too much in sort of the text I'm reading right now on the Manchester United website. But I could see Tom Heaton starting, in all honesty. Give him some minutes. Why not?
See, I'm going to go Onana. I think if there's ever a game to bring a goalkeeper back to build up his confidence, surely it's against the League Two side. And if Onana wants to sort of, prove himself, I'm still the man, then mate, go and do it. You know what I mean? Bring him back against Grimsby. Why not? And then go on then, Kieran, our back five. Who do you think might start?
I would think Aidan Heaven, potentially Fredrickson and Maguire is probably going to be our back three, with Maguire in the middle, and give some minutes to Fredrickson and Aidan Heaven, because there's no Martinez, there's no Mazraoui still. Amirim has said in the press conference that it's unlikely we'll see him before the international break. So on that sense, I think right back is going to be Dallo. I think left back will be, I'm going to say, Diego Leon.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it'd be really good to see Leon actually come in. I'm not sure if he will, just because he hasn't even been in the squads the past 2 games. But you never know. Maybe Almorin throws him in. I think he's just getting up to speed with things at the minute. But you never know. Maybe this is a game for him. I'm gonna go a bit stronger. I think my back three, I think, will be. I'm debating De Ligt, Maguire. I think he'll go Shaw, De Ligt and Heaven. No, actually, I think he'll go Shaw, Maguire, Heaven. I think he might give De Ligt a rest. I mean, Shaw maybe give him a rest just because we know how injury prone he can be, and it'd be such a shame to lose any of these players in a game of against Grimsby in round 2. And then I'm going to go right wing, I think, or right wing back, should I say. I think he'll go Ahmad, actually. I think he'll go a bit less defensive. Like against Fulham, I think he'll throw Ahmad on the right, and left back, I think he'll stick with Dorgu, to be honest. And then your midfield, Kieran?
Midfield's a tricky one. I think if we're going for the holding midfield, does Fernandes get rested? Does he go on the bench? Because if so, that would invite Ugarte and Meynou.
A rarity that would be.
That really would be a rarity. It really would. Would Casemiro start? Maybe. But I think he'll be prioritised for the game against Burnley coming up on the weekend. So I think it's probably going to be Meynou and Ugarte. That's maybe some injection of who I'd like to see blended in with who I think it's going to be. But I think that's probably how I think it will work out.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I would love to see Meynou start, to be honest. I just have a feeling I just don't think he will. I think he might get some minutes. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get some minutes. But I think he'll go with Ugarte and Bruno, to be honest. I think, look, Bruno never seems to miss a game. And if there's one game maybe you could rest him, it is this one. But I think he's just too sort of valuable for us. So, but I think Ugarte will come in. So I think Ugarte and Bruno. And then to finish off our front three, who's going to be bagging the goals hopefully tomorrow, Kieran?
I think you're going to have to go with the 3 new guys, Mbeumo, Cunha, Sesko. I think you have that triangle. This is the game to see what they can really do. Here's hoping that doesn't come back to bite me. But it makes sense that the 3 there haven't really scored. They've not been clinical enough to progress us forward. So I guess give them some confidence. Yeah. Give them some more minutes. I can't see them going for the whole game, but certainly starting this and seeing what they can do, hopefully, against League 2 opposition. I can't believe I'm saying that we'll start to see some progress.
Yeah, I mean, I see the logic. I think, this could be a game for Xerxes, as we said, to come in as well. I don't even think he's come on in the past 2 games, actually. And I like your school of thought with going for the full power front 3. Just let him let them go for it and see what they can do. I'm going to go somewhere maybe in the middle. So I'm going to go with, I think Cunha might be rested this game, and I'll go Mbeumo, Sesko to start, and Mason Mount. He seems to be loved by every manager, and I think the two performances against Arsenal and Fulham have shown why Almorin loves him, and it seems like we're getting the player that we signed, that we hoped we signed from Chelsea. So I think Mason Mount will start again with Mbeumo and Sesko hopefully scoring the goals. And finally, a prediction, Kieran?
I'm going to go 5-1 United.
Oof, nice. I love that. Scoring the goals. I'm going to go a bit more pessimistic, but still a win. I'm going to go 3-0. So hopefully
a clean sheet.
Yeah, a clean sheet. Hopefully for Onana, who comes in. Hopefully. So, but yeah, that's our predictions, and we'll see how sort of close or far out we were on the starting 11 when they come out tomorrow night. And hopefully we can pick up our first win of the season and then kick on with Burnley on the weekend. And be sure to catch our episode, our preview episode of Burnley on the Friday. I believe it's a 3 p.m. kickoff. This one, for once, not on TV, which is another rarity. But again, we have to also thank our sponsors, our guys over at Zencastr. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we do spend a lot of time selecting which sort of delivery platforms and what sites to send our podcasts on. But Zencastr definitely come out the clear winner with 4K recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes the ums, the ahs, and everything in between. It's super easy to start your own podcast that sounds great and is delivered effectively. So if you're ready to tell your story, just like me and Kieran and all the guys at the United podcast, then check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. But for now, Kieran, it's been great to speak to you as always, mate, and looking forward to hopefully progressing into round 3 of the Carabao Cup. And be sure to check us out everywhere on social media and the episode after the game. Goodbye from us.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.